The galactic demand. The sun had just begun to set over Earth, casting a golden glow across the planet, when the first message came through. It was a strange, cold signal, one that had never been received before. At first, it seemed like just another communication anomaly. But within minutes, the global communication networks began buzzing with alerts. This was no ordinary message. In a small, dimly lit room within the United Nations headquarters, the world's leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The tension in the room was palpable. Diplomatic relations had been tense lately, with rumors swirling about distant civilizations in the galaxy. But no one had expected this. The voice came through the speakers, sharp and commanding. It was cold, mechanical, yet somehow filled with a sense of overwhelming power. This is the Galactic Empire. Earth, you have been selected to provide tribute. Failure to comply will result in the immediate destruction of your planet. Prepare to send the required resources. We await your response. The silence that followed was deafening. At first, no one spoke. They were all in shock, struggling to comprehend what had just been said. A message from the Galactic Empire. And they were demanding tribute. It felt like something out of a science fiction novel. But this was real. Earth was facing a force from beyond the stars, and their demands were clear. Tribute or destruction. The United Nations Secretary-General, Eleanor Foster, was the first to break the silence. Her voice shook, but she maintained her composure as she addressed the assembly. What does this mean? How can we even respond to something like this? Her question hung in the air, unanswered. The room erupted into chaos. World leaders were on their feet, shouting over each other, demanding action. Some wanted to negotiate, to try and find a peaceful solution. Others were more pragmatic, suggesting that Earth had no choice but to comply, fearing the unknown power of this mysterious empire. Meanwhile, a small team of military experts and scientists worked feverishly to analyze the message. They were trying to determine its origin, the authenticity of the threat, and most importantly, how to respond. They knew that whatever came next, Earth's future was hanging by a thread. General Richard Harper, a decorated officer in the Earth Defense Force, sat quietly at the back of the room, deep in thought. Unlike the others, he wasn't panicking. His years of experience had taught him that in situations like this, calm was the most important thing. His eyes narrowed as he processed the message. We need to find out more. Who are these people? What do they want from us? He muttered under his breath. As the leaders began to formulate their plan of action, General Harper looked out the window, his mind racing. The war, it seemed, was inevitable. But there was one thing that gave him hope. Earth had something the Empire didn't. They may have the power, he thought, but we have something they can't understand, our will to survive. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving behind an eerie silence. It was a warning, but also a challenge. The Galactic Empire had drawn its line in the sand. Now, Earth would decide whether to cross it or retreat. Harper's fingers gripped the edge of the table as he steeled himself for what was to come. There was no turning back. The first move had been made. Now it was Earth's turn. The warning. The world had barely recovered from the initial shock of the Galactic Empire's demand. The United Nations had called an emergency session, and in every corner of Earth, from the smallest villages to the most powerful cities, the air was thick with fear. Everyone was talking about the same thing. The message from the Galactic Empire, the demands for tribute, and the chilling warning of destruction. General Richard Harper knew that time was running out. The Empire's message was not just a threat. It was a clear indication of their intentions. If Earth didn't comply, they would face annihilation. But General Harper was not the type to back down easily. As the world's leaders gathered in the headquarters of the United Nations, he stood with a sense of determination in his heart. This was no ordinary moment in history. This was the moment that would define Earth's future. Secretary General Eleanor Foster stood at the podium, her face pale but resolute. "We've been given an ultimatum," she began, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions around her. "The Galactic Empire wants tribute. They want our resources, our wealth, and our submission. If we refuse, they will destroy us." The room fell silent. It was as if every leader, every representative, was waiting for someone to speak the words that would guide them forward. But it was clear. There was no simple answer. The Empire's forces were far beyond anything Earth had ever encountered. Their technology, their ships, their weapons, it was all far superior to humanity's most advanced systems. Earth was outmatched. But surrendering was not an option. General Harper stepped forward. His uniform was immaculate, his expression focused. He had seen war before, but this was something different. This was a threat that could wipe out everything humanity had worked for. He cleared his throat, his voice cutting through the heavy silence. "The time for negotiation is over," he said. "This is not a question of whether we comply. This is a question of whether we survive." The room murmured in agreement. It was clear that fear and uncertainty were taking hold, but General Harper's words cut through the haze. "We will not bow to these invaders. We will fight. We will show them that Earth will not be destroyed without a battle." Secretary General Foster turned to him, her face a mix of worry and determination. "But how do we fight them, Richard? They have the power to obliterate us in an instant. What can we possibly do?" General Harper's eyes narrowed. "We have one thing they don't have: our will to survive. We'll fight with everything we've got, and we'll use every resource we have to defend our planet. We won't go down without a fight." For a moment, the room was filled with whispers. Some leaders agreed, others were hesitant, but all were struck by the sheer audacity of what Harper was proposing. To challenge the Galactic Empire was no small decision. It was a gamble, a fight against a power far greater than anything Earth had ever known. But in that moment, a fire was lit in the hearts of the leaders. They knew that surrendering would mean the end of everything. Foster took a deep breath, making her decision. "Then we stand together. We will prepare for the worst. General Harper, I want you to begin assembling our forces immediately. We will need everything we can muster." Harper nodded. "Understood. I'll make sure every military asset is put into play. We'll need every soldier, every ship, and every weapon we can get." As the leaders continued to discuss their next steps, General Harper felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. He had just made the first step toward a galactic war, but the hardest part was still ahead. How could they defeat an enemy that had crushed entire civilizations in its wake? What hope did Earth have against a force that could wipe out entire planets with a flick of their fingers? Harper turned to his aide, Lieutenant Olivia Kerr. "Get me the head of the Earth Defense Fleet. It's time we start thinking bigger. We need to send a message of our own." Lieutenant Kerr nodded and quickly left the room, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Harper stared out of the window, the night sky sprawling out before him. His mind raced as he thought about the challenges ahead. The Empire wasn't just any enemy. They had proven that they could destroy entire civilizations, reducing advanced worlds to nothing. But Harper refused to believe that Earth had no chance. In that moment, he knew one thing for certain: Earth was about to make history. They were about to show the Galactic Empire that they had underestimated humanity's resolve. The warning had been sent. Earth had refused to comply. And now, the Empire would know that Earth's people would fight for their home, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, in the vast reaches of the galaxy, the Empire's leaders were watching. They had received Earth's message, the bold defiance of the human race, and though they had expected submission, Earth's response had caught them off guard. In the Galactic Empire's war room, the Supreme Commander looked at the transmission, his face unreadable. He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet. Earth has chosen to defy us. Let them see the true power of the Galactic Empire." The fleet was already on its way, and as the countdown to battle began, Earth's leaders knew that their fight for survival had just begun. Preparing for war. The days that followed Earth's refusal to comply with the Galactic Empire's demands were filled with a sense of urgency and uncertainty. General Richard Harper worked tirelessly with Earth's top scientists, strategists, and military leaders to prepare for a conflict the likes of which humanity had never seen. The weight of the situation hung over him, but his determination remained unwavering. In the war room of the United Nations headquarters, Harper and his team were deep in discussion. The walls were lined with digital maps and blueprints of Earth's military assets, all projected on large screens. Every leader in the room was focused on one thing: how to stand against an enemy whose power dwarfed their own. "General, we've analyzed the Empire's fleet transmissions," said Colonel Maya Estrada, a senior officer in Earth's Defense Force. "We're looking at a fleet that spans across several star systems. Their ships are unlike anything we've ever seen, larger, faster, and more advanced than anything in our arsenal." Harper rubbed his chin thoughtfully, listening carefully to Estrada. "What kind of weapons do they have? What are we facing?" Colonel Estrada sighed, tapping a few commands on her console. A new image appeared on the screen. It showed a massive, sleek battleship, dark and imposing. "This is one of their flagship-class ships. It's equipped with energy weapons that could decimate our entire fleet in a matter of minutes. It has shields that can withstand our strongest attacks, and its weapons can fire from long range with pinpoint accuracy. We're no match for it in a direct confrontation." Harper's mind raced as he processed the information. The situation was dire. The Galactic Empire had not only the numbers, but also technology far beyond anything Earth had ever developed. But humanity had always survived through ingenuity and resourcefulness, not through sheer power. "We need a strategy," Harper said. "We can't face them head-on. But we can't run either. We need to outthink them." The room fell into silence as the world's military minds considered the daunting task ahead. Earth's defense technology had come a long way, but it wasn't enough to fight a fleet of ships that could wipe out entire cities with one shot. But Harper refused to give up. He knew that Earth had one advantage: the very thing that made humans different from any other species in the galaxy: their creativity and adaptability. "We need to use what we have," Harper said. "We need to focus on guerrilla tactics, disrupt their communications, take out their supply lines, and hit them where it hurts. If we try to fight them head-on, we're done for. But if we can outmaneuver them, we might stand a chance." The room erupted in a flurry of activity. Plans were drawn up, strategies formulated. Earth's top engineers and scientists were tasked with modifying existing weapons and technologies to create a defensive system that could at least offer some protection. Meanwhile, the leaders began organizing the global military forces, preparing for the unimaginable task of facing an enemy with unimaginable power. "We'll need to coordinate our attacks," said Admiral Jonathan Hayes, head of the Earth Fleet. "If we can strike at their command ships, we can cripple their fleet's coordination. We can't afford to waste resources. Every strike must count." Harper nodded, taking in all the details. There was no room for mistakes. Earth's fate depended on these decisions, but he was determined to make the most of the time they had. Earth was a young civilization, but it had always been a force to be reckoned with. Now, the entire galaxy would learn just how far humanity could go when its survival was at stake. "All right," Harper said, standing tall. "We begin preparations immediately. Our first priority is to get the defenses up and running. We'll start with the Earth Defense Fleet. We'll need every ship, every weapon, and every man we can gather. But we're not just defending. We're going on the offensive. We hit them fast, and we hit them hard." The team set to work. Engineers and technicians scrambled to modify Earth's existing spacecraft for the upcoming battle. New energy shields were being integrated into the fleet, and weapons systems were recalibrated for higher efficiency. Meanwhile, special forces were being trained for guerrilla tactics, preparing to strike at the heart of the Empire's infrastructure. As the days passed, the preparations grew more intense. The leaders knew that the time to act was quickly approaching. Earth's defenses were taking shape, but would it be enough to stop the might of the Galactic Empire? General Harper knew it wouldn't be easy, but he also knew that Earth had a secret weapon the Empire hadn't counted on: human ingenuity. One evening, after another long day of planning, Harper sat alone in his office, gazing out at the stars. The quietness of the moment felt like the calm before a storm. He thought of the message the Galactic Empire had sent, the demand for tribute, the threat of destruction. He thought about the leaders of Earth, the soldiers ready to fight, and the civilians who would be caught in the crossfire. But most of all, he thought about the message Earth had sent in return. They would not be cowed. They would not kneel. They would fight for their home, no matter the cost. Harper's thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. He turned to see Lieutenant Olivia Kerr enter the room, her face serious. "General, we've just received word from the Empire. They're on their way. They've launched their fleet." Harper stood, his face grim. "Then it's time. Prepare the fleet. Earth is ready." The battle was about to begin. Earth's fight for survival had moved beyond the planning stage. It was now a race against time. The Galactic Empire was coming, and humanity's resolve would be tested in ways no one could have imagined. The first strike. The days leading up to the first direct confrontation with the Galactic Empire were tense. On the surface, Earth appeared calm, but beneath it all, the planet was buzzing with preparation. General Richard Harper's strategy was set in motion. Every military unit, every ship, every resource had been mobilized. The quiet before the storm was unbearable, as both sides steeled themselves for the inevitable clash. Earth's first strike wasn't meant to win the war. It was meant to send a message. General Harper knew that humanity had no hope of matching the full might of the Galactic Empire in a direct battle, but they could make an impact. They could show the Empire that Earth was not a helpless world to be conquered, and that message would be delivered with force. The Earth Defense Fleet was ready, harbored in the depths of Earth's oceans and hidden in the farthest reaches of space. The fleet had been carefully assembled. Ships of all sizes, from the largest warships to nimble strike crafts, sat prepared, awaiting the signal to launch. Earth's strategy was simple: hit fast, hit hard, and disappear before the Empire could react. At the command center aboard the Earth Defense Command Station, Harper stood before a massive holographic map of the galaxy. The fleet was spread across several sectors, ready to intercept the Galactic Empire's ships. Admiral Jonathan Hayes stood beside him, his brow furrowed with worry. "General, are we sure about this? They've already sent their fleet. This might be a suicide mission." Harper looked at the map, then turned his gaze back to Hayes. "If we wait for them to come to us, we'll be sitting ducks. The Empire thinks they can crush us without even trying. We'll prove them wrong. Our first target is their communications relay station just outside the solar system. If we can hit that, we'll disrupt their command chain." Hayes nodded slowly, though doubt still lingered in his eyes. The risk was monumental, but Harper's resolve was unshakable. "Understood, sir. The fleet is ready. We launch in 10 minutes." The countdown began. Harper's mind raced through the strategy once more. The first strike would be an attack on the Empire's communication network. The relay station was vital to the Empire's control of its fleet. If Earth could destroy it, they would at least delay the inevitable attack. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The fleet had to move fast, hit hard, and get out before the Empire could respond. As the minutes ticked down, the tension in the command center was palpable. The young crew members, fresh from basic training, watched the holographic maps intently. This was their moment. For many of them, this was their first battle. For others, it was a chance to prove themselves. At the final moment, Harper gave the signal: launch the fleet. The fleet moved out in perfect formation. Every ship coordinated as they shot out from their hidden bases, some from the ocean depths, others from the deep recesses of space. The ships ascended with precision, cutting through the void of space with deadly efficiency. General Harper's eyes were fixed on the lead ship as it moved toward the target. This mission was only a small piece of the puzzle, but it was an important one. Every successful strike would boost morale on Earth and signal to the Galactic Empire that humanity was not a race to be trifled with. As the fleet approached the communication station, Earth's ships were nearly invisible to the Empire's scanners. They had taken precautions, using stealth technology to avoid detection. The station itself, a sprawling facility of metal and energy, floated in the cold dark of space, unaware of the impending assault. Harper sat tense in the command center, watching the action unfold through the live feed. "We're almost there," he murmured. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair as the distance between the fleet and the communication relay shrank with every passing second. The Earth Defense Fleet moved into position. Ships began to align themselves to target the station's weak points. The mission was clear: destroy the relay, cripple the Empire's ability to communicate, and then vanish into the darkness of space. "Weapons ready," reported Lieutenant Olivia Kerr, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Fire," Harper commanded. In an instant, the fleet's weapons systems lit up the darkness. Laser beams, plasma bursts, and missile barrages tore into the communication station. The station's shields flared and crackled under the intense firepower, but they were no match for Earth's concentrated assault. Within seconds, a massive explosion ripped through the station's outer defenses, sending debris flying in all directions. But the damage didn't stop there. As the Empire's relay station erupted in flames, it sent out a shockwave, disrupting their communication channels across several star systems. Earth's fleet pulled back quickly, vanishing into the dark void of space, just as the first wave of the Empire's reinforcements began to arrive. The mission had been successful. "Mission accomplished," Harper said quietly, though his face was tense. The battle was far from over, and they had only taken the first step. The Empire would soon realize what had happened, and they would retaliate. Back on Earth, news of the strike spread like wildfire. Humanity had just landed the first blow against an overwhelmingly powerful enemy, and though the battle was far from won, it was a symbol of hope. The Galactic Empire had seen Earth as insignificant. Now, they would see the tenacity and spirit of humanity. The victory was short-lived. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Empire was already preparing its counterattack. The communication relay had been destroyed, but the war was far from over. The Empire would retaliate, and it would retaliate with fury. General Harper knew that this was just the beginning. "They're coming," Harper muttered, looking out into the depths of space, "and we'll be ready for them." The Empire strikes back. The message had been sent. Earth had delivered its first blow to the Galactic Empire, and for a brief moment, humanity had a taste of victory. However, as General Richard Harper stood at the helm of Earth's defense operations, he knew the true fight was just beginning. The Empire would not tolerate this humiliation for long, and when they came, they would come with everything they had. The fleet had vanished into the depths of space after their successful attack on the Empire's communication relay, but they knew it wouldn't be enough to escape the Empire's wrath. General Harper had given orders to scatter the fleet and prepare for a prolonged, scattered defense. Earth's forces weren't large enough to win a full-scale war, but they could make the Empire bleed. If they could hit fast and disappear before the Empire's response arrived, perhaps they could keep the war going long enough for Earth to gain the upper hand. Back at Earth's command center, the atmosphere was tense. The screens glowed with activity as military officers and scientists worked around the clock to prepare for the Empire's retaliation. Everyone knew that this attack would come. The only question was when. Then, without warning, the alarm systems blared to life. A message flashed across the screen. "Empire fleet detected. Incoming." A cold chill spread through the command center. General Harper had been expecting this moment, but the reality of it was still daunting. The Empire had mobilized, and they were coming for Earth. It was not a matter of if they would retaliate. It was when and how devastating it would be. "All ships, report in." "Prepare for battle," Harper ordered, his voice calm but firm. Every officer and crew member in the room had a role to play now, and they would all have to act swiftly. Lieutenant Olivia Kerr stood by the command console, her face a mix of determination and apprehension. "General, we're seeing a fleet of over 200 ships heading toward Earth. They're moving fast." Harper took a deep breath, his mind working quickly. The Empire wasn't wasting time. They were coming in full force, and they had more than enough power to obliterate Earth's defenses in an instant. "What's the status of our fleet?" Harper asked, his tone unwavering. "We've deployed the ships as planned," Kerr replied, her fingers tapping rapidly on the console. "But we're outnumbered. The Empire has more firepower than we can handle. We need to buy time. Buy as much time as possible until reinforcements can arrive." The reality hit hard. Earth's fleet, though well-prepared and strategically placed, was vastly outgunned. They had no choice but to rely on guerrilla tactics, delaying the Empire long enough for humanity to muster whatever defenses they could. "We can't win a direct fight," Harper said, his mind racing. "We need to divide their forces and spread them out. The more ships they send after us, the fewer they have to attack the planet. Prepare the first wave of fighters. We're going to make them chase us." With the order given, the first wave of Earth's ships and fighter crafts launched into space. As they emerged from their hidden bases, they scattered in multiple directions, darting between the stars, their movements calculated to avoid direct confrontation. But they were not running. They were luring the Empire's ships into a trap. The Empire fleet, vast and relentless, began to split up, sending smaller groups after each of Earth's scattered ships. But the Empire underestimated one thing. Earth's fighters were faster, nimbler, and far more unpredictable. The Empire's ships, though powerful, were slow to react to such unconventional tactics. "We're in position, General," Lieutenant Kerr reported. "They've taken the bait. The first wave of ships is splitting off." "Now's our chance," Harper said. "We hit them where it hurts. All ships, prepare for counterattacks. Strike at their flanks and communications." As the first wave of the Empire's ships began to chase Earth's fighters, Earth's hidden fleet emerged from their positions, launching surprise attacks. Plasma bolts and laser fire lit up the void of space as Earth's ships targeted the Empire's weakest points. Their strategy wasn't to win. They couldn't win. But they could fight and cause enough damage to make the Empire think twice. The Empire responded quickly, but not quickly enough. Earth's ships danced through the battlefield, their agility and speed giving them the upper hand. One by one, Earth's ships struck the Empire's smaller vessels. They disabled weapons systems, crippled engines, and created chaos within the Empire's lines. The Galactic Empire was not used to such tactics. They were powerful, yes, but they were not prepared for humanity's guerrilla warfare. "We're making a dent, General," Kerr said, her voice rising with excitement. "They're losing coordination. Their flagship is retreating to regroup." Harper's heart raced. This was their chance. The Empire was shaken, but it wouldn't last long. Earth's fighters could only keep up this hit-and-run strategy for so long. They had to take out their primary targets, Empire flagship and its communications. "Focus all fire on the flagship," Harper commanded. "If we take it out, we'll cripple their command structure." The remaining Earth ships locked onto the Empire's flagship and closed in. The massive ship was a fortress of dark metal, its weapons systems ready to retaliate. But Earth's fleet had the advantage of surprise. As the flagship tried to reorganize and turn its guns, Earth's ships swooped in. The battle raged on for hours. With each passing minute, Earth's fleet was slowly whittled down, but the Empire's flagship took more hits than anyone had anticipated. Finally, a critical shot struck the Empire's command center, causing the flagship's core to destabilize. A massive explosion ripped through the heart of the ship, and its mighty form was torn apart in the blink of an eye. "Flagship destroyed, General," Kerr shouted with triumph. But as the last of Earth's forces limped back toward safety, General Harper knew they had won a small victory. But the real war was only just beginning. The Galactic Empire would not back down after a blow to their flagship. They would come again. And next time, they would come with even greater force. "We've delayed them," Harper said quietly, as he watched the debris of the Empire's ships drift away in the cold vacuum of space. "But we've only just begun. The fight for Earth isn't over. Not by a long shot." And as the remaining ships of Earth's fleet retreated into the darkness of space, they knew they had made a mark on the Galactic Empire. But the question remained, would it be enough to turn the tide of the war, or would humanity be crushed under the weight of the Empire's vengeance? The battle was far from over, and Earth's survival hung in the balance. The Galactic Empire strikes back. Earth's last stand. The victory from the previous battle was short-lived. The destruction of the Empire's flagship had sent ripples throughout the Galactic Empire. However, as expected, they were not deterred. The news of their flagship's loss only spurred them on. Earth had made a powerful statement, but the Empire would now exact its wrath upon the homeworld. General Richard Harper stood at the command center, staring at the star map before him. The enemy fleet was already regrouping, more organized and more determined than ever. Earth's forces, though resilient and resourceful, were growing weaker. The guerrilla tactics that had worked before were no longer as effective. The Empire had learned from its previous mistakes, and Earth was quickly running out of options. "General, we have detected a massive fleet headed towards Earth," reported Lieutenant Olivia Kerr. "This time, it's not just a small strike force. It's the full force of the Empire. We're talking about over 1,000 ships." The news sent a shiver down Harper's spine. 1,000 ships. Earth had no chance of winning a direct confrontation. Earth's fleet was still recovering from the previous battle, and there were far fewer ships left to defend the planet. Harper knew this was a battle they could not afford to lose. This wasn't just a matter of military strategy. It was a fight for survival. "Prepare for the worst," Harper ordered. "Initiate Code Alpha. We need to evacuate key personnel to the underground bunkers. If we can't defend the planet, we have to ensure that humanity can survive." The order was grim but necessary. Earth had to take every precaution. The Empire's fleet would be overwhelming, and if they were able to breach Earth's defenses, the planet would be defenseless. Harper's mind raced as he weighed the options. There was one last chance, one last desperate plan. "We've been working on something in secret," Harper said, his voice low but determined. "The Black Sun weapon. If we deploy it, we might be able to stop the Empire's advance long enough to regroup." Kerr's eyes widened. The Black Sun weapon had been humanity's last-ditch effort, an advanced weapon of immense power. It was still experimental, but if it worked, it could destroy entire fleets in a single strike. "Are you sure it's ready?" she asked, her voice tinged with both hope and hesitation. Harper nodded. "It's now or never. We need to launch the weapon before the Empire reaches Earth." The Black Sun weapon was Earth's final card. If it worked, it could obliterate the Empire's fleet, but if it failed, Earth would be left completely exposed. It was a risky gamble, but Harper knew there were no other options. As the enemy fleet grew closer, tension filled the command center. The crews worked furiously, scrambling to prepare Earth's final defense. Ships of all kinds were deployed, but the Empire's fleet was too numerous. Harper watched the screen as the incoming enemy ships closed in on Earth's orbit, and his heart sank. The Empire's forces were a wall of destruction, and Earth's fleet could only delay them, not stop them. "General, we have a clear shot at the fleet. Should we launch the Black Sun?" Carr asked, her voice steady despite the dire situation. Harper didn't hesitate. "Yes, launch it now." With that command, the last hope for humanity was set into motion. The Black Sun weapon, a device capable of releasing a catastrophic burst of energy, was fired into the heart of the enemy fleet. As the weapon soared toward its target, Earth held its breath. For a moment, time seemed to slow down. Then, the weapon detonated with an unimaginable force. The explosion was blinding. The shockwave rippled outward, sending ripples of energy throughout space. The enemy fleet, thousands of ships strong, was caught in the blast. Dozens of ships were obliterated in an instant, their hulking forms disintegrating in the blink of an eye. The remnants of the explosion spread across the void of space, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. "It's working," Kara exclaimed, her voice filled with a mix of awe and relief. But it wasn't over yet. The explosion was enough to cripple a significant portion of the Empire's fleet, but not all of it. Hundreds of ships remained, scattered and regrouping. The Empire's commanders were furious, and they were already preparing to retaliate. "We've bought ourselves some time," Harper said, his voice calm but full of determination. "But they won't back down. We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for the next assault. This is far from over." The Black Sun weapon had given Earth a glimmer of hope, but it was only a brief respite. The Galactic Empire, while wounded, was far from defeated. Earth had shown its strength and resilience, but Harper knew the worst was yet to come. As the last remnants of the Empire's fleet retreated temporarily, General Harper turned to face the room full of officers. "Prepare for the next phase," he said, his voice resolute. "This isn't just a fight for Earth anymore. It's a fight for humanity's future. We will not let them take our home." And as the Earth Defense Fleet regrouped, the war for survival continued. The Empire's vengeance would come, but humanity was no longer the underdog. They had made their stand, and they would fight until the very end. The galaxy would never be the same again. The final stand, Earth's last hope. The Galactic Empire had been rocked by the devastating blast from Earth's Black Sun weapon, but the fight was far from over. In the aftermath of the explosion, a grim silence fell over Earth's command center. The screens flickered with images of the scattered remnants of the enemy fleet, but the real danger was yet to come. The Empire, though wounded, was relentless. General Richard Harper stood before the map of the galaxy, his eyes fixed on the incoming signals from the Empire. The remnants of their fleet were regrouping, preparing for another assault, one that would likely be more devastating than the first. There was no more time for hesitation. The final battle for Earth was imminent. "We've delayed them, but they won't stop until we're destroyed," Harper said, his voice grim. "They'll come back stronger, angrier, and more determined than ever. We have to end this now." Lieutenant Olivia Kerr stood by his side, her face drawn with exhaustion, but her determination was unwavering. "What's the plan, General?" Harper took a deep breath, knowing that the only way to survive now was to take the fight to the Empire. Earth's defenses were still recovering, but the enemy was too powerful, too numerous. There was no escaping the inevitable showdown. Earth had to launch its final offensive. They would either win or perish. "We're going to strike their core," Harper said, his voice full of resolve. "We've learned enough about their fleet tactics to know that their command ship, the flagship of the Empire, is the heart of their operation. If we can take that down, we'll cripple their entire fleet." Kerr's eyes widened. The flagship, the most powerful ship in the Empire's fleet, was nearly indestructible. It had shields that could withstand direct hits from powerful weapons, and its weaponry was unmatched. But Harper was right. If they couldn't destroy it, they would lose everything. "How do we do it?" Carr asked, her voice steady despite the challenge. Harper turned to the officers stationed at their consoles. "We'll need to strike with everything we have. All remaining fighters, all long-range missiles, every weapon we can get our hands on. We're going in full force, but we have to be smart. We'll use the cover of asteroid fields and nearby debris to mask our approach. Once we're close enough, we launch everything we've got." The command center buzzed with activity as the final preparations were made. Earth's remaining ships were patched up, and the crews were ready for one last mission. The fate of Earth rested on their shoulders. "General, the Empire is closing in fast," Kerr warned. "They're ready for us. We don't have much time." Harper nodded. "Then it's time we show them that humanity isn't as weak as they think. The fleet launched into space, moving swiftly and silently, disappearing into the asteroid belt that surrounded Earth's orbit. The darkness of space and the scattered debris provided perfect cover. The Empire, unaware of Earth's maneuvering, continued to advance, their flagship leading the way. For hours, Earth's fleet moved silently, weaving through the asteroids, preparing for the final assault. The tension was palpable, and every officer and crew member knew what was at stake. The battle that was about to unfold would determine whether humanity would continue to exist or whether Earth would fall under the heel of the Empire. "We're in position," Carr reported. "The flagship is in range." Harper nodded, his face grim. "All ships, prepare for launch. This is our final shot." As the fleet emerged from the cover of the asteroid field, the Empire's flagship came into view. Its massive silhouette loomed ahead, surrounded by a sea of enemy vessels. The final assault began. The fighters surged forward, firing everything they had. Missiles streaked through space, lasers tore through the void, and Earth's ships moved with a deadly precision. But the Empire was ready. Shields flared to life around their flagship, and the battle raged on. Harper's heart pounded as he watched the battle unfold. The Empire's forces were overwhelming, but humanity's fleet was relentless. Every ship was fighting with everything it had, knowing that this was their last chance. And then, just as the flagship's shields began to falter, a massive explosion rocked the battlefield. One of Earth's ships had made a direct hit on the Empire's flagship, breaching its shields and causing critical damage. The Empire's flagship shuddered violently, its engines sputtering. The Empire's fleet began to scatter, unable to focus their fire with their command ship in chaos. "We did it," Carr shouted, her voice filled with disbelief and excitement. But there was no time to celebrate. The Empire's fleet was still formidable, and they weren't about to give up just yet. Earth's fighters continued to press forward, targeting the remaining ships, but the battle was far from over. The Empire would not go down without a fight. "General, we need to finish them off," one of the officers cried. Harper's eyes narrowed. "We finish them now. No mercy. All ships, concentrate fire on their remaining capital ships." For hours, the battle continued, with Earth's fleet pushing back the Empire's forces, one ship at a time. Finally, as the last remnants of the Empire's fleet began to retreat into the depths of space, Earth's forces stood victorious. The battlefield was silent once more. The remnants of the Empire's ships floated aimlessly in space, their once mighty fleet reduced to ruins. Earth had won the battle, but the war was far from over. "We've done it," Harper said, his voice tired but triumphant. "But this victory isn't just for us. It's for every human who believes that we can survive. We've shown the galaxy that Earth will never back down. We've made our mark. The Galactic Empire will remember this day for the rest of time." And as Earth's fleet regrouped, battered but unbroken, the galaxy would never be the same. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they knew what it meant to face a force that would never be crushed. The war was over for now, but humanity's place in the galaxy had been forever solidified. The fight for Earth's future had been won, but the fight for humanity's survival in the stars had just begun.